So when I finally watched the music video, I didn't actually like it. And even the song, I was like, oh, I was expecting something different. But ever since I've listened to it, I've had it in my head, like stuck in my head off and on. So you win, Ariana Grande. Hello everybody, my name is Kara, and today I'm here with the Thank You Next book tag. There are a couple of versions of this tag. I'm going to be doing the one that was originally created by This Story Ain't Over. I will link her original down below, and I was tagged by the lovely Brianna from Rainy Days and Stormy Nights, and I will also link her down below. Number 1, name a book that you said thank you next to, i.e. DNF'd. I'm going with one I mentioned before, but now I'm officially DNFing it for the time being, and that is Leviathan Wakes by James S.A. Corey. This is a very, very popular space opera science fiction series, and I got like 10 or 15 pages into this one and I didn't like it. And I'm sitting there like, I really don't want to read this for 600 pages, so I'm actually going to be unhauling this soon. I haven't completely given up on the series permanently, but I just know that if I ever want to get around to it, I'm going to get it from the library, because I know that I won't be wanting to get to this anytime soon, so there's no point in keeping this massive book on my shelf when it just makes me feel bad for not reading it. And the next 3 questions you can either answer separately with different books or all with the same book. I'm going to go with the separate answers option. So next is to name a book that taught you love, i.e. a book that you loved. I actually interpreted this one a little differently, a little more literally, because I thought that might be kind of fun. And I went with The Ugly Goddess by Elsa Marston. So I picked this because this is, I think, the first book I can remember reading where I actually like noticed and cared about a romantic relationship in the book, even though I know like love doesn't mean romance necessarily. But I just reread this book kind of recently, and I just remembered that this was the first book that kind of like did that for me, because there is kind of a romantic subplot in this book, although it doesn't really take over the story or anything. I remember reading this as a little kid and being like, oh my god, he's in love with her? Like, that's so shocking. Like, what's going to happen? I really care about what happens. And reading it now, it's like, really, Kara? Like, you couldn't see where that was going? Because it seems now that I've read a lot more and I've picked up on clues before, it seems pretty expected that that's what's going to happen, or that is what's happening, but at the time it kind of blew my mind. Next is to name a book that taught you patience. I'm going with Alexander Hamilton by Ron Chernow. This is the massive, like, 600 or 800 page biography that inspired the stage show Hamilton, and I actually got this as a gift from my mom because she knew I really loved the musical, and when she gave this to me, I was like, oh man, like I don't know how this is gonna go. But I ended up really, really loving this. It's just really well done, and I think Ron Chernow is really good at making it feel like putting the facts together into a narrative. This book took me a really long time to read, and I put it down for several months at one point, but then when I got back into it, I just decided like I would make a point to read a couple chapters every day, and by the time I got to the last 300 or 400 pages, I was just flying through this because it was so compelling, and especially when we get into the things that happen with Alexander Hamilton's family, and especially like the little anecdotes about people that are barely part of his life but that went on to do really amazing or interesting things. I really enjoyed those, so I flew through the last like 300 pages or something within a few days, and I ended up really enjoying this. And this was kind of the first like heavy nonfiction book I think I read that made me realize like, oh, I can actually really enjoy that. Oh, and also I was reading this book I think partly while I was in Ireland, and I have some notes from one of my ancient Ireland history classes in here. That's really cool. I guess I just kept that in there for the memories. Next is to name a book that taught you pain, and I'm going with Bridge to Terabithia by Catherine Patterson. You know what you did. Number 6 is to name a book that you loved at the time of reading, but in hindsight you do not like as much anymore, but which you still learned some other quality from. And I've seen a couple people answer with this one, but I really couldn't think of a better answer for it, and I'm going with the Twilight series by Stephenie Meyer. So, I do not like the series anymore. I haven't enjoyed it for a while, but I've referenced this briefly before, but I went through like a really intense period of kind of obsession with that series, like I think a lot of people did, and I was really invested in it. I was really enjoying the series, and I had a lot of feelings on who I think Bella should end up with. And even though I recognized some of the book's flaws at the time, I didn't really recognize the elements that made it unhealthy, and it wasn't until a couple of years later when that I think it was a blog post went around that had like something like the 22 signs that you're in an abusive relationship, and this person like went through and like checked off all of the ones that appeared in the Twilight series, and all of them except one were present in the series. And that was something that kind of opened my eyes to like, oh, okay, so there are things wrong with this series that go beyond like Bella is a really boring main character. And specifically the thing that reading and loving this series taught me is that it doesn't really help anyone if you enjoy something and then pretend that you didn't later on. Because after my period of infatuation with the series, I went through a period of like, oh no, I always knew it was bad. And like, even at the time, I knew that there were some things wrong with it, but you know, it was fine. Like, I wasn't that into it. And just this whole experience with the series taught me that it's actually really important to pay attention to how your reading taste changes and grows, and how you start to pick up on things that maybe were actually unhealthy in books that you used to enjoy. And I feel like the series is kind of having a resurgence in popularity because it's like almost like a counterculture thing now. And while I understand that for a lot of people this was the series that got them excited about reading again, it's kind of scary to me because there are a lot of things wrong with that series in how they portray Native Americans and like the really unhealthy romantic relationships, like the abusive and like stalking relationship elements that I mentioned earlier. So I understand that for people it has a lot of meaning, but it's kind of worrying me that now we're seeing it as like, okay, well, don't shame teen girls for liking things that are geared towards them. And like, I agree with that. We shouldn't shame things that are associated with young women, but we should also like not give this series a pass just because it is intended for young girls, if that makes sense. At least that's how I feel about it. And I know Marines from My Name is Marines talks about this quite a bit. Number 7, name a book you're currently talking to, i.e. have the hots for. So I think this is supposed to be a book that we're currently reading, and I am currently reading, I think, 3 books because I have a problem. It's fine. But the one that I picked up most recently that I just started is actually an arc of Courting Darkness by Robin Lefevers. My good friend Giselle actually passed this on to me because she knew that nobody was going to like read and review it or anything, but I'm so excited about this. This is a continuation of the His Fair Assassin trilogy. I believe this one is going to be a duology, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I'm not very far in. I'm only like 44 pages in, but I'm really liking it. Number 8, name a book that gon' last, the book of you, the book that helped you love yourself a little bit more. And I'm going with a nonfiction book again, and that is Beauty and Cosmetics, and I think that is from 1600 to, I don't remember what the other year is, and I own a copy, but it's put away somewhere, so I'll just insert a picture. But I'm kind of choosing this book for like what it represents because you guys have probably noticed that I really enjoy makeup and beauty. That's something that I'm very passionate about, that I think is really fun and important as a method of creativity and self-expression. And for a long time, I really didn't wear makeup because I kind of fell into that trap of thinking that people would take me less seriously or think I was less intelligent if I liked, you know, girly things. And unfortunately, while that is true in some cases, I can definitely tell people who think that if you wear lipstick, it apparently just destroys some of your brain cells. I don't think that's a good enough reason for not wearing it because I enjoy it. It's important to me. I think it's fun. I also think in terms of feminism, I think it's incredibly important to remember that things associated with women, it's like if you denigrate those things, like you're not being a good feminist, you know? And it's just like this book I think really helped me realize how important beauty and the beauty industry has been throughout history. And also this was important because this is a nonfiction book about a topic that I wouldn't have thought to seek out because to me it wasn't like serious nonfiction. It wasn't like history or the hard sciences or something like that. But it's a really important thing in history, and I really highly recommend this book. I really love it. And I also think that reading and loving this book not only helped me discover a new kind of reading to enjoy, but it did kind of help me love and accept something about myself. And just to get a little more personal for a second, I think another thing that makeup and that reading this book about makeup helped me realize was for a long time I think I was avoiding, like I didn't wear makeup because to me, if you wore makeup, it's about accentuating features and really like showing off things that you like about yourself. I didn't want to wear makeup because it like drew attention to me, like it drew attention to my face and to just myself. And I think there was a part of me, a very insecure part of me, that didn't think I was pretty enough to have people look at my face, or that I wasn't interesting enough to draw attention to me, and that might make people like notice me or talk to me. So actually me deciding to start wearing and enjoying makeup is actually a very positive thing for me. And it actually helped me like overcome some insecurity. So it wasn't about like covering up or hiding like I know some people say it is. And finally, number 9 is to tag someone. And I don't know who hasn't already done this tag. I'm gonna say if you are at all interested in this, let me know and I will add your name to the description box. But if you just want to do this tag, then do it and say I tagged you. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you soon with another video, and I hope you love the next book you read. Bye!